So Brian, happy with your performance?
These are the fights I expected coming to the UFC, the tough fights. I knew I was going to have to grind a couple out with my wrestling in due time, and Claude Patrick was the guy that made me do it first. So overall, I'd love to have been more dynamic and put on a bit more of a show, and I'd have liked to have won more decisively, but you know, I got the takedowns, I didn't get hit, and yeah, I get to go home happy.
It seemed somewhat controversial. Lorenzo Fertitta tweeted that he thought Claude won. Why do you think some people thought he won?
It's his hometown.
That's it?
That's it. I got the takedowns in the first round and the third. Second round, not a whole lot happened. We just clinched in later round. To be fair, you probably could have called those, first two rounds maybe 10-10s. But if you're going to give a 10-9 in the first round, I think I got it with the takedowns.
Despite the fact that he had you in the guillotine, it seemed like that was the most dominant sort of moment of the round.
The guillotine's not a move. I've not been submitted in one. Nobody's come close. Everyone's tried. That's how I get my takedowns. In the end, I'm happy to let anybody in the world try to pull a guillotine on me, especially when they use it to go to their back. In the third round, he jumped on one, and I played on my side, knowing he would probably go underneath for it because I wasn't going to let him get on top, and he gave me another takedown with a guillotine attempt. So if people are going to count on that as a threat, well, I'm happy to take it because I'm going to work my way out within probably 60 seconds, and most of the time I'm going to lay some lumber and some good ground and pound.
We saw dominant striking in your first and second fight. Maybe you would have liked a quicker finish, but at the same time, are you glad you get to show off some different skills in this one?
I showed I was a tough guy and I can grind out for 15 minutes. I can't really say I showed a whole lot of skills. We both kept our stance. Neither of us really opened up too much. And I knew he had a very strong clinch game, and he's been working with Mike Van Arsdale, a former teammate of mine. So I know he's been wrestling a lot. I think Rashad's down there as well. So that showed. He's a very, very strong guy. And he stuck very, very tight to me, in the over-under clinch and the collar ties. So it was just really hard to make space and work.
Besides the one, what was the goal going into this fight?
The goal is always to come out without getting hurt. I want to have a career in this game. I don't want to have to cut my career short due to injuries. I think the two things that limit athletes are opportunities and injuries. And I've got my opportunity, so now I need to stay healthy.
How much money did you get paid to put Tap Out in your hair?
They sponsored me for 2 fights. I won't disclose the figure. I'm pretty sure it's a standard figure for all the other guys. That was just something a little bit fun. It sticks with the humor of the whole shaving anyway. The arrow was basically meant at people that needed to knock me out to beat me because they weren't going to out-wrestle me. So with the tap-out thing, I didn't think he was going to be able to knock me out, but he had that 9 fights by guillotine kind of thing going. So I think the cheekiness with the tap-out said, well, come get your tap-out. Was a bit of a laugh, and obviously with the sponsorship, it made sense to do it.
Everybody knows you train, obviously, in Australia, but we saw an old coach, old friend of yours in your corner tonight, Frank Shamrock. What was it like having him back out there with you?
Just a bit heartwarming having him here. He's one of the first ones that really taught me about the art of living in martial arts. As a wrestler, it's not a martial art per se. It's a sport when we come up, so I never really looked at it as a martial arts kind of thing. I thought karate, that was a whole different story, and the respect and the budo and all that didn't seem to apply so much to wrestling. They were a bunch of knuckleheads and just tough guys. But when I got out to California, he changed my mentality and philosophy, and I've learned more from Frank since I've been away from him. He's been the gift that keeps on giving. So it was very nice to have him here and to be able to show him the product that he helped create.
After your last win, you said that you wanted a veteran, someone like Matt Serra came to mind. You said specifically that you didn't want someone like Rory McDonald. You got Rory McDonald, but you didn't end up fighting him. Were you happy when you found out you weren't going to fight him?
No, not at all. To be honest, when I saw Joe Silva's name in my inbox, my heart dropped. I knew it was either going to be because I did something wrong or something was happening with my fight. And I didn't really want to fight in December. I wanted to get through the high school wrestling season back in Illinois and then try to get back for the Australia card. And Joe Silva and I had a bit of a back and forth, and it came down to me accepting the December fight. And Rory was a very entertaining prospect, and he was going to be one heck of a puzzle, one heck of a challenge. And I geared myself up for that. But I had a month to get my head around the new opponent. And again, I knew the fight could go like this with him being such a veteran and playing for so long. And he did. He came out with a very tight game plan, which I expected. So yeah, the change of opponent was a little bit, maybe for a day or two, unsettling. But then I just went and grabbed the 3 UFC videos of Claude and got my head around it. It didn't change my training, didn't change my methods. I still had to make weight, still had to, train the same skills. So,
what happened to your elbow?
I landed a pretty good elbow on the side of his head, and I think it was just, a bit of a bone chip against his bone. So I've swelled up, maybe a bursa sac's broken, but I got some fluid on my elbow.
And could you put this whole year into words now that it's ended for you, getting that call on short notice and fighting in your now adopted home country of Australia, now going 3-0? What has this year meant for you, especially considering your run in MMA up until this year?
Life-changing, I guess, is the simplest and most succinct way to put that. I could have been fighting in Australia, could have been making decent money, but nothing like what I've done this year. I've set aside a nest egg. I've had 3 wins on TV. I've boosted my profile as a coach and as an athlete, so that gives me longevity with my career outside of the octagon, but still inside the sport. I've been able to do a couple announcing things at smaller shows, so I've kind of been able to expand my horizons just based on those 3 letters. And now I've got the support of probably the biggest clothing company in the world, and hopefully my contract will go through my whole career with Tap Out. And in the end, now I've got a partner to travel with. I've lived as a gypsy for a while. The 2 bonuses and this 3rd UFC fight this year have really helped me convince her to move from Australia and travel a bit and enjoy her life. So, yeah, now there's 2 30-somethings on the loose, and no major game plan as far as where we want to settle down. So, yeah, pretty happy boy.
Congrats.